So what's good, TMG fam? Listen, man, top 10 scary night drive stories. Night drive stories. Now, listen, man, some of the scariest moments I have driving at night. Now, remember, y'all, I used to be a truck driver, right? So driving at night was, we did that frequently. We did that often, waking up at sometimes 12 o'clock in the morning to get out there, or coming in at 10 o'clock at night to drive. Some of the places I would have to go, man, that would make you kind of nervous, whether it be early morning, it's still very dark, but it's like wee hours of the morning, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you come through that fog up them Tennessee mountains, man. Yo, it'd be nerve wracking either going up or coming down, man, because you could barely see. Like, if this was the nose of the truck, you could barely see this far in front. So you have to take it really, really slow. You know what I mean? Looking for animals, or, deer running across the road, different things like that. People stalling out, or the cars, or, you couldn't be speeding because something would be right in front of you before you knew it. So, man, that was some of the most scariest night drive stories I could possibly think of myself. Now, I was never a person to pull over and pick up hitchhikers. I ain't doing that. Nothing against hitchhikers, and I'm just not doing that. I can't really think of any other thing else that could scare you. So I'm really, really interested on somebody's scary night. Now, if you're driving down some dirt roads, or these back roads and stuff like that, I imagine you've come across some things like that. So I'm interested to see this video. So we're going to check it out. If you're new, subscribe, all that good stuff, man. And here we go.
If I was going down a creepy road at night, I'd rather be in a car than on foot. It does make me feel a lot safer. You're in like a metal box and you can get out of there very quickly. It doesn't mean you always feel safe though. Sometimes unexplained or just plain old creepy things can happen out there on the roads at night. I went to Reddit and Thought Catalog and picked out the very best stories I could find. Here they are. My name is Danny Burke and this is the top 10 scary night drive stories. Starting off at number 10 now, we have the Oldsmobile. This one comes from Thought Catalog. One user said, my daughter was driving from Wichita Falls, Texas to Oklahoma City on I-44 to catch our plane home to Philadelphia. It was 4:05 a.m. I remember because I was afraid we'd miss our flight and the highway was empty. We were almost out of Lawton city limits when we saw an older model car, light blue or silver, launch off an embankment, roll 3 or 4 times end over end. I could actually see a human fly through the air. I pulled over and called 911 and gave them the GPS coordinates of the overpass. I asked the dispatch if I should back down the highway and she told me not to because there was an officer less than 2 minutes away. 20 minutes later, I got a call from the police asking exactly where it was. I repeated the info. The officer said he was sitting at that location and there was nothing there. Not a skid mark, broken glass or flattened grass. Nothing at all. When I got home, I googled it. This is what I found out. Exactly 10 years prior, a group of teenagers were speeding down a suburban road when they lost control, flipped over a guide rail and rolled down the embankment. All 6 kids were killed. They were driving a 1986 Oldsmobile. The time of the accident, 4:05 a.m. It's a classic case of a phantom crash. We've talked about that before on the channel. Some people dismiss them, but others say that ghosts are formed when people die in intense moments with unfinished business here on Earth. A car crash does seem like it might fit the bill there pretty well.
And see, that reminds me, yes, I did have an incident now that I thought about it, bro. I think I was coming from California, coming back, and we were headed to Florida. We were delivering orange juice. I was on a training truck, bro. On a training truck, and I'm coming through, meaning when you're on a training truck, you're doing majority of the driving. Your trainer is just there to make sure you don't need anything. He does minimum driving, but you got 14 hours to drive, but you only allow 11 hours of actual driving time, but you got 14 hours to do it in, right? So I was driving, coming back through, and the company I was with, they only allowed the students to drive up until a certain time. I think it was maybe 11, 12 o'clock maybe. And then I had to kick it over to my trainer. So I'm coming through, and you come through a little bit of mountains coming through, or it may have been hills or whatever. I ain't been out there in so long, coming from Cali through there. And man, I'm coming down this, I think it was a mountain, bro. I'm coming down and all of a sudden this deer comes out. Now, mind you, I'm in an 18-wheeler, bro. I can't swerve. If I swerve, we're going down that mountain, bro. You know what I mean? We're going down. So split second thinking, I gotta do it. He walked out to the road, and when he looked up, it was over with. My trainer jumped out from the back, was like, what was that? Because it sounded like a tire blew out. I told him, man, deer. We pulled over to the next gas station, man. It had done ripped out half of the front grill by the passenger headlight. Half of that had been ripped off, bro. Crazy moment, man. Crazy. So yeah, that's probably one of the scariest moments I've had.
Finished business here on Earth. A car crash does seem like it might fit the bill there pretty well. Moving on to number 9 now, we have the cemetery. This one comes from Thought Catalog again, where one girl said, I live in a small town in South Texas. When I was 19, a boyfriend of mine, myself, and 2 other friends were driving down an old back road towards a cemetery that hadn't been used since the 1800s. It was about 3 a.m. and we pulled up into the cemetery only to see off in the distance 4 white hooded figures circling a grave in the distance. We didn't stay long enough to investigate. We turned around and left real quick. Yeah, I think they made the right call there. People in hoods standing in a cemetery that hasn't been used in well over 100 years. They're probably not having a picnic, are they? No sandwiches there. Coming at number 8 now, we have the fog. This one comes from Thought Catalog again, where someone said, I was driving home from work about 2 a.m. It was a beautiful night, so I decided to take a route home that was more in the country instead of through town. I had to cross an old bridge that had been there probably 80 to 100 years. There's no houses or lights except my headlights. Just as my front tires hit the bridge, a red fog rolls across it. The hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I got across that bridge as fast as possible. After I got across it, I looked in my mirror, and the fog is gone, but it looked like someone was standing in the middle of the bridge. I mentioned it to my parents the next morning, and my dad said he'd always heard stories about that bridge, and supposedly a young lady hung herself from it. Nope. If that happened to me, I would just leave that bridge alone. That bridge belongs to the ghost girl forever.
And not have any bright ideas about, oh, well, let me just take a different route home tonight. You know what I mean? Let's go down this dark road. No, bro. Stick to the rivers and lakes that you used to. No.
Let her keep it. I'll go around. I'll swim. At the number 7 spot now, guys, we have The Whisper. This is another one from Thought Catalog, where a guy said, driving home from work one night, exhausted after working a double shift, I was on the freeway and fell asleep behind the wheel. I heard a woman's voice very gently whisper in my ear. She said, wake up. Just loud enough to wake me up, but not startle me awake. I woke up just in time to avoid colliding with a bunch of rogue construction barrels. That was like 20 years ago, and I never forgot that voice. Well, okay, it's great that they heard the whisper. It might have actually saved their life, but it's still really creepy. What do you guys think the explanation is for this? Was it just a voice in their head, perhaps, or something a bit more supernatural? At the number 6 spot now, we have Dog's Eyes. Shep Big Strong Fella on Reddit said, I was driving a van across Switzerland on the Autobahn in the dark, very little lighting as I came down the hillside into a valley. I noticed what I thought was a man running down the right-hand lane in the distance at 2 to 2:30 a.m. There was some moonlight. As I get closer, he's running really strangely, like loping. So as I'm going past him, out of politeness and not to blind him, I flick my main beams off, and as I do it, he turns his head around and his eyes are reflected like a dog. Every hair stood up on my body. I put my foot down. There were no woods around or houses, and the nearest town must have been 30 miles away. Truly terrifying. I agree. I think that's very creepy. Whenever someone shows a sort of animalistic nature, even if it's like the accidental reflection from their eyes, it's pretty terrifying stuff, especially alone on a road at night.
Some of y'all will still be like, oh, but he needs help. Let me pull over and see. Then they get in the car. Nah, bro, I'm not pulling over. Again, nothing against anybody, man. I just feel like I'm in that percentage where my luck would be I pick up the sociopath or the serial killer that's been evading police for all these years, and one night I pass him and he flagged me down and I pick him up. No. I'll send some help.
Moving on to number 5 now, we have The Stranger. This one comes from Reddit user Smuffy72. He said, I used to work second shift. I got off around 11:30 one night, drove over to my girlfriend's house and stayed there for a few hours. A pretty bad thunderstorm started up and I decided to head home. My dog hates storms and didn't want to leave her alone. There's 2 ways back to my house from hers. One runs through town and takes 20 minutes or so. One is a single lane dirt road that only takes about 8 minutes. This night I chose the dirt road. There are no houses on this dirt road for about an 8-mile stretch. It's raining hard as well. I'm in the middle of the Alabama woods creeping down this dirt road.
Wait. A dirt road. No houses on it, but you have to go down an 8-mile stretch. Man, I'm no stranger to dirt roads now. I don't understand that. I'm no stranger, bro. I'm not going down no dirt road for 8 miles at night. You crazy out your mind, huh? You crazy out your mind. This sounds like a person who ain't never been down no dirt roads before. Sheesh.
It's raining hard as well. I'm in the middle of the Alabama woods creeping down this dirt road. I come around a curve and there is a very large man standing right in the middle of the road wearing a black hoodie with his hood up, dark colored pants and dark shoes. I slammed on the brakes and stopped. He takes a few steps towards my truck and I freaked out and threw my truck into reverse, backed up, and he runs towards me and then darts into the woods. Due to being in the middle of nowhere, I didn't have cell reception, so as soon as I got home I called the cops and reported it. 2 nights later a woman had a similar experience. He actually tried to get into her car. Police searched the woods several times and they found a camp but never found the actual guy. The thing I find crazy is that guy had a camp. When you think of a camp you might think of like a summer camp or going camping with your friends. A murderer's camp though, not so appealing. Moving on to number 4 now guys, we have The Ent. This person on Reddit said, I was driving in the dark with my wife down a small country lane in rural Kent, UK. There were trees on both sides of the road. This particular part was a long steep hill going up and it was a fair...
Who's going down? Y'all going down that? Look at that. Look at that. Man, please. No, ain't no way. You think you're just gonna do that and then just lock the doors and you're gonna be safe? No.
A foggy night, just 2 cars, me in front and this guy behind me, not close, who'd been there for a few miles. Suddenly, this giant shadowy tree, ant-like figure literally loomed up and grew out of the road at the top of the hill. Practically shit myself and stuff.
Oh, he high. He one of those people that drive down the dirt roads and the back roads high. Yeah, he gotta be high.
Up and grew out of the road at the top of the hill, practically shit myself and started to slow. My wife made an odd noise as she noticed as well. It seemed like it was the headlights of the guy behind me and some tree branches, and they were all reflecting onto the fog like a screen. Not unexplainable, but definitely the scariest in the moment. Yeah, I can see where he's going with this one. I'm sure that stuff is totally explainable. Probably is just a strange shadow or the human brain playing tricks, or maybe it was an actual ent and the trees have finally come to life to take their revenge upon humanity. They're all equally valid theories. Next up at number 3 now, we have the friend.
If that's the case, then I believe he was in the middle of a game with Jumanji. That's what I believe then. If he believes that.
Their revenge upon humanity. They're all equally valid theories. Next up at number 3 now, we have the friendly advice. This one came from Thought Catalog where someone said, I had pulled over one night to fuss at my 2 younger children. A car pulled up beside me and told me that there had been a wreck over the next hill and traffic was stopped. They suggested that I take a side road that detoured the wreck. I thanked them and they left. I decided to not take the road because I'm from the country and didn't want to get lost. As I drove by the detour road, I looked over and saw the couple had stopped and gotten out of their car. There was nothing but woods all around. It was just getting dark and that's all I could see. The next morning, as I drove by the same road, I saw the dead end sign just past where the couple had gotten out of their car. It still gives me chills when I drive past it now, and it's been 15 years since it happened. That is the...
You had a guardian angel on your shoulder that told you, don't do it. Not today. You want to die today? Don't do it. Don't do it. Ain't nothing but down that road but death. You know what I mean? It was one of them situations where you was like, nope. And it saved your life and your children's life, fam. Why would somebody, normally people tell you and move on, but this person, I felt like this person probably went in depth and explained the accident, everything like that. You should be real suspicious of people like that. They're gonna stop, tell you, and keep moving. If somebody stop and engage in the conversation and stuff, no, that's too much.
Terrifying. I mean, it's one thing being scared of nature or the dark or just kind of natural things around you, but how creepy would it be knowing that those people were probably planning on jumping you? Moving on to number 2 now, we have the flames. Volunteer Magic said, I was on a road trip with my wife at the time and her kid. I believe this happened after we passed through New Mexico and went into Texas. It was 3 a.m. and we came over a large hill and everything is on fire. Just fields and fields of fire. It looked like the goddamn apocalypse. I had no clue what I was looking at, but my wife at the time and her kid were completely asleep, so I had no one that could bear witness to this, and I didn't want to wake anyone up because, wow, how would you like it if you got woken up and everything was on fire? That does sound pretty terrifying. Can you guys even imagine waking up in the car and just seeing pure fire everywhere, as far as the eye can see? Some people commented suggesting that it's probably farmers doing controlled burns, a fairly
The only time I heard something happen like that to somebody is when from working at the fire department, one of the dudes drove the fire truck into the fire by mistake. So they had flames on each side of the truck. I was like, what you gonna do? Drive into the fire, let them melt the truck, and 1,000 gallons of water put the fire out? What was you thinking, bro? Huh?
Some people commented suggesting that it's probably farmers doing controlled burns, a fairly common practice in tall grass prairies. That's a comforting explanation to hear now, but probably of no help when you're right in the middle of it. And finally, number 1 now, we have white t-shirt and jeans. This one also came from an anonymous user from Reddit who said, coming home from a night shift, driving down a back road I traveled literally thousands of times. On one side of the road, there is a 6-foot drop onto train tracks. The other side runs vertically up a hillside approximately 25 miles. No guardrails. In my headlights, I saw a young man dressed in a white shirt and dark pants suddenly dart out into the road from the hillside, stop in the middle of the road to look at my truck, and then sprint over to the other side and down the embankment. I slammed on my brakes, got out with the flashlight from under my seat, and ran to the trackside thinking he had to be hurt. Nothing. Absolutely quiet except the sound of my truck engine. I got home, which took all of about 5 minutes in my mind since I was shaking so hard, and said something to my dad. He grinned from ear to ear and told me it was probably the guy who was killed on that road when my dad was in high school. White t-shirt and jeans was what he was wearing. Whoever hit him ditched his body on the tracks and just left. The sheriff found him the next morning. He does that every once in a while to people driving that road alone at night. Scared the crap out of you, didn't he? I laughed and nodded. Wow, the story was great, but honestly, the ending to it was a little bit weird. I wonder why they were laughing about that pretty horrifying experience. Probably just nervous laughter. Alright then guys, that was another set of...
Yeah, Pops is... I'd be nervous to be around my Pops after he made a statement like that, man. Like, this makes you laugh? This is humorous to you? Huh? I drove home shaking. Literally shaking, and oh, you find humor in this. Oh, okay. Side-eye watching you for the rest of my life now. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, not too many crazy stories from me, but if y'all got some, drop them in the comment section, man, of some scary nights that you was driving home. You know, for me, the most part, driving home in Atlanta is city. It's mostly city. So I was on interstate when I was home. Back home, maybe Savannah, but that was all interstate with a little bit of road. So it was never a situation where I was driving down. Only time, like I said, was truck driving. Driving those late nights, early mornings, man. And yeah, man, the fog and the deers. That's about to the extent it got crazy for me. So, but y'all get at me. Let me know what you thought of this video. And if you got stories, drop them. It's your boy L. Till the next one, I'm gone. Peace.